welcome to Socks On A Rooster Furniture Refinishing. If you don't know who I am, my name is Sonja Chandler, and we're very glad that you are joining us today for this video tutorial. Before we get started, if you wouldn't mind, please drop your name and where you're from down in the comments so that we can say hello. And if you tag 3 friends, we're going to be doing a drawing and give away one of these products today that I'll be using on this project. So today's video is going to walk us through a faux finish, actually, which is the pattern, the China pattern, Flow Blue. If you know what that is, you'll know that it's a blue and white China pattern that was popular in the 1800s, and it is the glazing technique tended to leave the imprint or the print on the china to sort of flow or blend into the actual stamp. So I'm going to attempt that, show you how we can do that on this large Asian storage box here. I just thought that it would be really interesting to make this piece look as if it was china. If it had the shape and the style that it would, wouldn't that be beautiful? If it looked as if it was a large piece of china with that flow blue pattern, which is so distinct and so pretty. So I'm going to walk you through the steps on that today, show you how you can do that with some of the Amy Howard lacquers, a little bit of one-step paint, and a clear stamp to get our image on there and to flow. So I'm so glad you're here. I hope you will stay with us to see how this turns out to the end, and let me show you. Okay guys, right before we get started here, I was showing some images here of Flow Blue patterns, which, if those of you that don't know what Flow Blue is, it's a china pattern. Then in the glazing process, that blue stamp blended and flowed, and they call it Flow Blue China. So here I am, I'm going to do that Flow Blue pattern on this storage box. And since I'm going from black to the white lacquer, I'm going to be using Amy Howard, the High Performance White Perfection lacquer. And I just did, to kind of close that gap a little bit between going from straight black to white, I'm just doing a coat of one step in Ballet White here. And you could use their primer. There's a primer that you can use, but I just had Ballet White on hand here, and so before I go out here, now I'm spraying the lacquer. And the lacquer you want to spray one stroke at a time, and do not go back over the same area. You want to move your can up your surface. Please excuse my garage. It's the only place I have to spray paint with ventilation. So I'm going over that, and you can see how that White Perfection is coating and covering beautifully. Now this is just the first coat, but I'm going to let this dry about 45 minutes between each layer. I'm doing a thin layer, not going over the same stroke. And with a round surface like this, a dome type surface, it's a little more difficult, but it's not hard to just make sure you don't go over the same wet area. You just want to try to keep that overlap as minimal as possible. And if you, ultimately, I used 4 coats here, and as you can see, I have a beautiful base for my paint. Now, this is where I went in and was trying to mix up my perfect Flow Blue color. You can use a color straight out of the can, but here I am mixing one step in Lady Sings the Blues, American Dream, which is my favorite. I think that's really actually marine blue, but the American Dream is a beautiful royal blue. And then I used a little bit of black, and I was initially going to use a deeper navy rather than royal blue. If you look at the Flow Blue patterns, you can see many variations of that, cyan blue or that royal blue. And so I thought, to kind of subdue it a little bit and not have it be too bright, I thought I was going to use a navy. and you'll see a deeper navy or a deep blue in those China patterns. But what I ultimately decided to do was create 3 colors of blue. I changed my mind and thought I'm going to add, here I am adding some Frankly Scarlet into my blue. So if you take a blue and you add in some magenta or some red, you're going to get a very royal blue. So ultimately, I created 3 blue hues. Same value, but I wanted that option to be able to, when I stamped, if I wanted to layer those colors, when I brayer them onto my stamp. So I'm just mixing here, and now here I have my rubber stamp, which is the Laurel stamp from Maker Studio. My rubber brayer, if you don't know what that is, it's just like a rubber paint roller. And I have a clear piece of plastic there, as you can see where I'm rolling. That's just a clear piece of plastic. Now I am rolling this on to my rubber stamp, and I'm using my rubber stamp without the plastic back. Normally you have a big plastic back to hold it on, but I needed it to be movable. Then you're going to mist your image, and then you're going to take your damp soft cloth and you're just going to blur that image. And as you can see, it's really soft at first here. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a second blurred image. And you can do as many layers as you would like. This is already dry, that first blurred image. So I'm going to go around the lid again here. I'm going to brayer on my stamp there using my stamp. And it doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to mist it and you're going to blur it. And most of the Flow Blue patterns have lost their original image, which is what's kind of so endearing about it. It was almost like it wasn't supposed to happen. It was imperfect, but it ended up being beautiful. So you can do as many layers of that blurred image as you would like. You can let that blue flow into the white as much as you would like. And then ultimately, you're going to do your final stamp, which you will not blur, which is what I'm doing here. So I wanted to leave more white and have it a little bit more crisp than have all of the white areas be tinted with blue. But this is where the artistic element comes in. Study your Flow Blue China pattern pieces and decide which you would like it to look like. Some of the blue that flows is very heavy, and other pieces it did not melt or meld as much during the glazing process. So here I am just going over and laying down my Laurel clear stamp. And this stamp comes with 4 stamps. You can choose between the 4. They're all beautiful. I can't wait to use this on more projects. But I'm just stamping on the additional images, and you can add in optional additional stamps if you'd like, or you can just leave it as is. Now the next step is I am going in and I'm going to make sure that I add some blue border in. If you look at a Flow Blue China plate, you will see that the painters and the glazers, they've gone in and they've painted the borders. So I'm just doing the same process with a paintbrush here on the raised areas. Just as if they were painting a piece of china, they would have painted that border. It would have been solid, and then in the glazing process, it would have melted. So I'm just using my misting bottle to go in, and I'm laying down some of my one-step paint in those raised areas, and then I'm misting them. And when you mist them, the Flow Blue process will happen already. You just need to take your damp rag and catch any runs or drips that, seem to go too far. You can control that misting bottle. You can control as much mist that you want to come out of there. If you do a very light mist, that one-step paint will flow really well. It will look almost identical to the Flow Blue process as it runs over that white lacquer. And you're still going to get the high sheen. You get that high sheen of the lacquer. It's going to look like a shiny piece of porcelain or china. So I'm just going around here, and you can do, again, as many layers of the Flow Blue as you like. Once those borders are painted and smeared, you can allow that to dry, and then you can come back again and do it again. I also got down into the crevices and the grooves around into those deep areas where they may have painted that china, and I would have sprayed and misted that, and then I'm just flowing that blue so you get that flow blue over that white lacquer. I added some detail as well around the top. You can just do that with the paintbrush. You can use the very tip of your clear stamp, just like the end of a laurel leaf. And there you can see how the borders flow on that piece of china. And that's what I was doing around those crevices. So again, I'm going in again and doing more of the flow blue here. And again, it's artistic interpretation. However you want your box or your piece. You may be working on, you can do wood platters, chargers that can look like large flow blue pieces. I think that would be really beautiful. To take some either plastic or some wood chargers and spray them with the high performance lacquer and do a flow blue stamped pattern on them. I think they would be beautiful to use with your plates on them. But there's the possibilities are truly endless with this. But whatever piece you're putting these on. Also, I did the bottom part of the storage box, and I used only half of my laurel stamp, and I'll show you that here. I'm brayering on just half. And when you don't have it on the hard plastic, your stamp, you can fold back that other half and you can stamp just that other half and just turn it opposite directions. So you go stamp it one way and then you stamp it the other way, and it's going to look like a long laurel leaf. And I'm doing the same process here as I did on the lid. You're just going to flow that blue one-step paint all the way around the bottom. So take your laurel stamp, and and it does not have to be perfect because you're going to blur it anyway. You mist that water on there, and it will start to flow for you already. And also a little tip, I will periodically go in and rinse off my clear stamp, because when you use one-step paint with a clear stamp, it can start to dry in there. So I just go in and take some warm water and some mild dish soap, and I just rinse that out and come back and do a second layer of blue. And you'll get a very clear, crisp stamp without any dried paint in the crevices. So do rinse your stamp off throughout the process periodically. And then I'm just going around this bottom piece of the storage box and laying down, making my blurred flow blue pattern. And then I will go back and do the same process as I did with the lid and put the final stamped image on there. But it's very easy to use just half of these stamps. You can use the very tip of the leaf if you wanted to leave around the top of the lid. If you wanted to leave just a little leaf sticking, a border, you can use that as well. But these rubber stamps, when you take the hard back plastic off of them, they're flexible and you can bend them and use them however you'd like. So I decided with this piece of china here, you can see the gold trim. It has the gold accent on it. I loved it. So I decided to add some gold leaf. Imagine that, me and my love of gold leaf. And you can see on the lid there, I took the end of a stamp, and you can take the end of the laurel leaf and go all the way around and create a pattern with just the tip. When you have a lid or a circle, you can kind of follow the edge, and that's what I did here. So I'm just going along and painting on my size adhesive. If you have never used gold leaf before, you have to use an adhesive first. It's called size. You just paint that on, and it will become sticky once it's dry. And so you'll know that it's dry by it being sticky, but not wet. And so I'm just adding it in here on these raised areas where I want some gold detail, like what was on that piece of Flow Blue China that I'm trying to mimic. So I'm just going in here and adding a little tiny bit, almost like the gold. They did 24 karat gold and all of that on those beautiful Flow Blue China plates. And I just thought that would be pretty on this big storage box. So I'm just going in, adding in my sizing. Then you take your gold leaf sheets, and once your size adhesive is tacky, dry, but still sticky, you're going to go in and they're going to stick just like a sticker. And that's when you know that that adhesive is considered to be dry. It may not feel dry, but it is dry. It feels like the back of a sticker. And I'm just laying down my gold leaf here. It's just going to be a very tiny, small trim detail like you saw on that piece of china, that plate. And so I'm just going in here, adding the gold leaf, and then you can take a brush and knock off all of that excess. Anywhere that adhesive was not there, it won't stick. Now I'm finished with it, and I'm going to put my clear lacquer over the top. It's the same process as the White Perfection lacquer. Ultimately, I did 4 coats of this clear lacquer, and I did that because I wanted it to be very shiny. And as you can see there, it's got a high sheen and looks more like a porcelain piece. So that's what I was trying to mimic, and that's what I came up with. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I will come back and answer them for you. And thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I hope you guys try it for yourself. Thanks so much.